Yay.
You got questions? They got answers.
Yes, we do.
If y'all got questions, Wendy has answers.
I do.
Well, Corey got
And if
questions
you
that
don't,
Wendy got.
I'll just ramble. So I'm prepared. Either way.
First of all, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming.
I love Madison.
You know, I'm going to talk about something I don't know if you're prepared for.
Okay.
But I've been trying to get you here for 5 years.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
So
What took me so long?
I don't want to eat up the time, but
Okay.
I'm ecstatic that you're here and we finally were able to get you
to be here. You know, the secret weapon was Payne just said, "Hey, want to come?" And I said, "Okay."
Should have used Payne before.
Was it that hard?
No, I didn't know that was even.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you had that problem.
Oh no. Hey, we're here now.
Wendy's ours now. We don't have to
She's ours. All right.
Okay.
So sure, why not?
Here I am.
So the way I wanted to get started was I wanted to talk about 2 experiences that I know you've been asked over and over again. But we have a crowd that's a little older, a little younger. We have a good mix.
We do have a nice mix.
But I kind of want to have you talk about 2 experiences, almost as that hook before we get started.
Okay.
And bringing folks into the conversation. One of your deals, Mr. Slim Shady.
Who? I don't think I've heard of him.
Please stand up. Could you talk about how that happened, how that occurred?
I can. It doesn't make me look very good, but I'll tell the story if you really want me to. So I was doing a lot of work out of Chicago. I was working with Twista and Do or Die. And somebody had called me and asked me to come speak on a panel in Detroit. So I grabbed one of the local up-and-coming rappers named Rhymefest. Rhymefest went on to write Jesus Walks for Kanye. But at the time, he was probably 17, 18, 19 years old, somewhere in there. And we jumped in the car and we drove to Detroit. And we got there. It was a long ass drive. We got there just in time for me to speak on a panel. I ran in to speak and he stayed outside. There was a cipher going on with like 7 or 8 rappers just outside, having a good time. And I spoke on the panel, and you may have noticed I'm kind of a big girl. I like to eat. So when I came out of the panel, we hadn't eaten yet and I was starving. So the plan was to go to Denny's as soon as we were leaving the panel. And I grabbed Fest and we hopped in the car and he handed me a demo tape. This is how long ago, right? It was a cassette. It was a demo tape. And I looked at it. I saw that he was a white rapper and I knew that white boys can't rap, right? So I threw it on the floor of the car and off we're going to Denny's. And he did this.
Rhymefest did that?
Oh yeah, he just did this, and I could feel him staring at me, and right. I knew why he was staring at me, but I looked at him and said, "What?" And he said, "Man, that's fucked up. You're white in this industry. You know how hard it is to be taken seriously." So peer pressure had me say to him, "Give me the cassette." We're now on the highway. We're headed to Denny's. I'm just thinking of moon over my hammy or whatever it's called. I'm so hungry. I'm like, damn. And we pop the cassette in. He pops the cassette in. I don't think we got a minute into that tape before I made a U-turn across the grassy median strip of the highway. Oh, wow. And I went back to the Athenaeum Hotel. He was still there rhyming. I said, "Get in." And I took him and Rhymefest to Denny's, and I did eat, so it has a happy ending. But we sat there probably for 3 or 4 hours just talking about how the music industry works. I explained how publishing works and how record deals work. And that's what he wanted. He wanted a record deal. So I went back to New York. I'm going to, do I have time to do
Yep.
a little more? Okay. I went back to New York and I got the Source to cover him. I burned a bunch of CDs and took them to every record label. I FedExed them to the labels in LA. And then I personally took them to the presidents of each label in New York. And I was able to do that because I had just finished Twista's deal, which ended in a bidding war. So I now had relationships with these guys. So I gave it to Rich Isaacson at Loud Records. I gave it to Craig Kalman. I gave it to Barry Weiss at Jive. I pretty much did the rounds. And I got home and there was a voicemail on my answering machine. I had burned CDs and apparently they were new and I didn't know what I was doing because they were blank. So I get home and there's a call on my voicemail from Rich Isaacson saying, this CD is blank. So I'm like, fuck. So I reburned CDs and took them back out a couple days later, made the circuit again, and I could not find him a record deal, and I got really frustrated. You realize this also means that Rich Isaacson is the only one that listened to the CD because he's the only one that called me to say the CD was blank, right?
Right.
So that did not go unnoticed. So I couldn't get him a deal for the same reason that I had attitude. This is going back in time. This is 1996. So Milli Vanilli had just been stripped of their Grammy or whatever it was they had won. And it was not a very easy time for white rappers. The most successful rapper was Vanilla Ice, who was not seen as legitimate by record labels or the community, the hip hop community or the Black community or any community. But he was making money. He just wasn't legitimate, and that mattered back then. So the labels were very afraid to put money into this white kid out of Detroit called Eminem. So I did an event called Rap Olympics in LA. And I really did Rap Olympics because things were kind of getting away from lyrical content and it was going towards more street rap and more pop the bottles, flossy rap, pop the bottle champagne, bitches in the club, that kind of shit. And it was getting away from lyrics. So I did Rap Olympics to bring attention to lyrics, but also to bring attention to Eminem. And it worked. Rap Olympics was a battle between teams. I had only ever seen battles between individual rappers. Right. So I thought it would be cool if everybody had a team, like KRS-One had a team, Wu-Tang had a team, I had a team, Project Blowed had a team, like all the different crews in hip hop had a team. And I thought it would be cool for like teams of 5 people to battle instead of just one person at a time. It made it a little more challenging and a little more interesting. And that was a lot of fun. My team did not win. Project Blowed won. And my team they were amazing. My team came in, it would have been weird if like my event, my team won. So in hindsight, I'm kind of glad that happened. But the prize for the winning team was bootleg Rolexes, fake Rolexes, which were very popular at the time. And the second prize was to go on the Wake Up show with Sway and Tech. And it gave Eminem the opportunity to be heard by the entire LA listening audience, one of which was Dr. Dre, and he was driving down the highway. You're going to recognize this story. And he made a U-turn on the 405 to go back to the station. And he walked in and he's like, who was just rapping? Who's the one that was like, da-da, 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 and they're like, oh, him. And he's like, wait, the white boy? And it was kind of the same story that I just told you that I did, like, across the highway. So the thing about Eminem is he makes you do U-turns on the highway.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Put that in the notes, right? That
yeah,
down.
Absolutely.
So there's one more story that I would love for you to share. And from what I've heard, this may be one of your favorite signings or contract negotiations. I'm not sure if that's still the case.
It's not my favorite.
Oh,
it was the best deal I ever did. My favorite's David Banner, because David Banner was just, he still is. I don't want to talk about him like he's dead. But David was such an amazing, and I'm going to tell you this story.
Yes.
I'm just going to prelude it with Banner. David Banner was in a bad contract and he hitchhiked to New York City from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with just wearing overalls and a straw hat, and he had a pistol. Yeah. And he showed up on my doorstep, which was very unnerving. It was either like a gift from God, like who is this gorgeous man on my doorstep, or it was like, uh-oh, who did I piss off? It was one or the other, I'm not sure. But I enjoyed doing his deal because I was invested in him as a human being. We think a lot alike. He does a lot for Black culture, which I care about. Cash Money does not do a lot for Black culture. But Banner was like a personal friend that I got to negotiate a deal for, you know. The Cash Money deal was kind of amazing. In 1997, I went to New Orleans for a music conference. I don't remember which one, but I went to a store called Peaches. And Peaches was a store that really mattered in hip hop. They sold a lot of rap. A lot of artists would go there and perform at the store. And I found a CD on the, you know, when you used to walk into I almost said, you remember how you used to walk into a record store and there'd be like a rack right by the door of all the hottest releases. And there was an artist in that rack called Pimp Daddy. And Pimp Daddy, I had never heard of. So of course I thought I knew everything there was to know about hip hop. I wanted to know who Pimp Daddy was. So I bought the Pimp Daddy CD, and when I stepped out of the store, I turned it over to look at the back, and I saw the Cash Money diamond logo, and I had no idea who they were. I listened to the CD. I do like street rap at the time. I really preferred lyricists. I still do, but it had a real groove to it, and he was lyrical, even though he's wrapping up and being a pimp, and I wanted to know who Cash Money was, so I started to ask around town. And I found out that they had put out 31 CDs over a 6-year period. And every time they dropped, it's a lot, right? Yeah. Every time they dropped a CD, they would sell somewhere between 5,000 and 25,000 copies, which is really kind of amazing independently. But I knew they could do better. So I went on the hunt for them. I went to the Calliope Projects. I went to Magnolia. That's not weird for me to do. I normally do still to this day, weird shit like that. But back then, people thought I was either a cop or a social worker, because who's this white lady coming into the projets looking for these guys? And I didn't find them. What a shocker. I did not find them that day, but I got a call around August. This was in May of 97. I got a call in August from a street promoter out of Houston called Lump. And Lump said, hey, I've got these two brothers here that own a label called Cash Money. I think they could use your help. And I'm like, oh my God. So when he handed them the phone, I explained to them that I was the crazy person that was looking for them. They knew exactly who I was, because of course everybody had told them, hey, some white lady's looking for you. They're like, oh, that was you? I'm like, yeah, it was me. So what I did was I put together a business plan for them, and I shopped them like a real company, which is something that a lot of folks weren't doing at the time in hip hop. They were sort of treating hip hop like we were second-class citizens, and I didn't like that. So I put together a plan, almost making them look like IBM, right? Like we had their projections in there. They were done by an accountant at Provident. He turned out to run Rock Nation for Jay-Z many years later. But we put together this plan that made them look larger than life. And I went to New Orleans. I rented office space for them, furnished office space for them, and turned them into a real company. And then when the labels all passed because they just didn't really understand Southern rap, we meaning my lawyer and myself, decided to grow their target market a little bit. And where they were only selling in really Houston and Louisiana, we stretched it out to a 7-state area, which is something, if you've ever heard me speak, I talk about this a lot, about going regional instead of just locally. And my lawyer was also the lawyer for 3 6 Mafia. So he made a call to Juicy J and said, hey, you guys are about to go out on tour. Can the Cash Money guys come with you? And Cash Money were popping. So that wasn't really asking for that big of a favor. It was sort of just linking people together that could benefit each other. And I had relationships from working Do or Die and Twista out of the Midwest. So I was able to use all my connections in the Midwest. So when we dropped the next album, we did 75,000 copies the first week. And when the label saw that, they're like, wait a minute, these guys are really growing, like they got something going on. First of all, they look like a real company. And oh, by the way, their sales just went from Chopper City in the Ghetto, which had sold 25,000 units, to 75,000 units on the next release. And it was kind of a no-brainer. And it became this incredible bidding war. And really the reason that it did so well as a deal is because they let me say no for 9 months. So because they were like, our first offer was 75,012 points. It was Penalty Records out of New York, just for Juvenile. And I'm like, no, we can do so much better. And the guys trusted my judgment. And I'm really thankful for that, because they ended up getting a $30 million deal. It was an 80-20 split, so much for 12 points, right? It was an 80-20 split. And to put that into comparison, the first offer was 12 points. They ended up with 80 points. So you can kind of see that's a better deal. They got to own their masters. They got to own all their publishing. And they had $3 million advances for, it was a 3-year deal. They had $3 million advances for 3 years, and then a line of credit for, up to 10 million each year that they wanted to spend. So it was an amazing deal. I'm most proud of that deal, but it wasn't my favorite deal to do. I really preferred David Banner's deal. Banner had been in a really messed up contract with, ironically, Penalty Records. Yeah, that was a 360, right? In terms of like karma coming around. He was in a really messed up situation with them. So he was afraid to get into another deal. So I convinced Universal to sign him, but then let him put out independent releases, even though he was signed to Universal Records. And I really got that, again, here comes 3-6 Mafia. I really got that from 3-6 Mafia, because even though they were signed to Sony, they were putting out independent records illegally that Sony never found out about. But I thought it would be really cool to do the exact same thing, but to have it be contractually agreed upon, instead of doing some slick shit behind somebody's back that would get somebody really angry at a label. I thought it would be really cool to take less money up front, but have the opportunity to put out independent mixtapes, if you will, albums. And to me, that was a much better deal than Cash Money. And I got paid. I had to sue Cash Money to get paid.
Well, it's great how this relates in, and you've highlighted in this presenting Cash Money as a business,
as a company. Yes. I heard you say that in the panel earlier, and I perked up immediately, because nobody really looks at hip hop as a business. And that's really what it is. You're a brand. It's a business, and you have to really take it seriously.
Yes. So this is the third part of our Level Up series.
Yes.
And what we've done is we've tried to split it up into a creative portion, a marketing portion, and a business portion.
Okay. Good thing I wear the money shirt.
Right. I feel your experience interconnects with all three, though.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to take the audience through is some of the things that were brought up in some of the previous ones, and have you comment on
Oh,
it,
great.
and
Okay.
then move up to the business.
I love
and
that.
Pick your brain for that.
Let's do it. I'm here as
All
long
right.
as you need me.
All right. So we move through Cash Money. So
That's a great picture, by the way. Happier days
hey,
for all of them.
Google's great.
Google's amazing.
All right. One of the things
That's
that
my
I've
favorite
heard,
phrase.
one of these things that I've heard over and over again.
Stalker.
Okay, I'll tell you this. If you even try to attempt to get through all the stuff online on Wendy Day,
You'll have a
you'll
twitch.
never make it.
Yeah. It's too much.
I felt bad that I was barely able to get through a lot. But there's some great interviews.
Thank you.
There's a great book out that people can
There's
get.
an awesome
So
Wait, are you talking about my book or the
yeah, I'm
one?
talking about
Okay.
your book.
Okay, there's a better, even better book.
There's a new one.
Yes,
I
not a
missed
new
the new
one. No. Well,
We'll get to that. Okay. So moving forward, this is something that came up over and over and over again, and I found it unique, because there's all these different ideas on failure, failing. Is that a thing? Everyone has different perspectives on it, but you always said fail fast,
Yes.
which for someone like myself that was into music, I felt like I was trying to avoid the failure.
No, that's how you
in many
learn.
cases.
Yeah.
But listening to this, can you explain that?
I will. I fail all the time. The great thing about failure is it means you tried something and you tried something new and different. And that's how you discover new shit that works is by trying, right? If you stay in the same lane doing the same thing over and over, you may not ever break out of that lane. So I want everybody in here to fail. I just want you to do it faster.
Right.
I don't want you to spend 3 years doing something and then you fail and it doesn't work. I'd rather you spend 3 days or 3 weeks and it doesn't work and then you move on, right? And I love that you brought. I should really get that made into t-shirts because when you look at the tech world, especially, they fail fast. Like tech is the turnover is so quick. They have the opportunity to strengthen and make products better. And for me anyway, the way that I run my company is we try something. If it works, we do more of it. If it doesn't, we stop doing it. It's really that simple. It's really that simple.
All right. Let's move
What
into
else you got?
Let's move into the creative side.
Okay.
YouTube
Beats.
Why must I bring this up?
Yeah.
As a studio owner, I would say 50% of my clientele are using beats from YouTube.
I know they are.
I've tried to have this conversation with them,
Yes.
but I don't hold quite as much weight as you
Yeah.
do. So I'm hoping that you can come in and really set this straight for them, please.
Happily.
And then I can just replay
Yes.
it at the studio.
Okay. So I know it's easy to sit at home and you want to make music and you want to rap to a beat. And I realize that you can go to a little place called YouTube and find beats. I realize that. I realize how easy it is. And like most artists, you want a beat that's kind of popular. So you're going to find one that has 300,000 views or maybe 1 million views. And you're going to listen to it. You're going to, oh, that's me. Yeah, that was made for me. And then you rap over it and it becomes your best song ever. But you can't put it out because you don't own the beat. And you don't own exclusivity to that beat, which means if you're going to spend money on it, and you're going to have to market and promote, right? Which costs money. If you spend money on that beat and somebody else comes along and has that same beat, not only are you going to get pulled down because you don't have the rights to use it, but whoever is the bigger artist, it's going to look like it's their beat, you know? So if, I don't know, pick an artist comes out on a beat that sounds like that, you've now spent money on a beat that has no value to you because it looks like you bit whoever is bigger than you.
Right.
And it just doesn't work. So I thought, well, if they're going to use YouTube beats and I can't clear them because I can't get exclusivity because there's other artists that have already rapped on that beat, I'll just go in the studio and get a producer to make a beat that's similar, not the same, but similar. The problem with that is it never works. You listen to the original beat so many times and your ears become accustomed to it that when you try to change that beat onto the song, it never sounds right. It never sounds right to you. And you want to talk about losing motivation is to put out a song that doesn't sound right to you. You're never going to love it. If you have to perform it 100 times in a week, you're going to hate it. It just doesn't work. So the best way really to get production is to form a relationship with producers, people that can actually make beats for you because of your vibe or your style, or go through their beats on their hard drive and find something that is exclusive, that is unique, and get the proper paperwork done. It's really not that hard. It just means you have to leave your house.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We'll say there's multiple producers here as I'm looking in this direction. We got 2 right over here. We have another producer here. We're getting there. We got another producer here. I'm just saying, they're all around you for those.
They're
artists that are
everywhere.
here.
They're not
They're
hard to
everywhere.
find.
No.
They're really not. And you know what? They're usually really nice people. Most producers aren't extroverts, so you might have to go out of your way a little bit to talk to them, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And they understand, especially guys that are doing this professionally, they understand what beats work and what beats don't work. And they might even be able to give you some pointers on the lyrics that you're dropping. Like, man, that didn't sound right. You know, you're rapping too fast, the beat's slower. You're rapping too slow, the beat's faster. They can be of service to you. They can really help you make an amazing song. And that's kind of the goal.
Speaking of being of service, well, that's just a great segue into this next one.
It's like I knew.
Role of the engineer. We had some incredible engineers come to our first session. And let's take, for instance, someone that had the money that was saying, hey, I want to come to you to have you take over and do our marketing and
That's
everything.
a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, but they found it somehow.
Okay.
What are the things that they're going to need from their engineer beyond just the finished song? Are there other things that you're hoping that engineer would provide that artist for you to be able to do your job?
Absolutely. First of all, there's 8 different formats of the song that I'm going to need to do my job, especially if I'm going to give that song out to DJs, like club DJs, or, you know, God forbid, go to radio with it if it's a song that's really reacting. And radio you do last. It's not something you do first because it's really expensive. And most songs don't really fit at radio. But if you fuck around to make a hit record and you have to go to radio, you better have the instrumental, you better have the acapella, you better have, the song has to be mixed and mastered. One of the things that I always ask artists to do is take 2 songs that are huge, and it could be like Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? It doesn't have to be them, but take 2 songs that are commercially viable, that you know are hit records, and put your song in the middle, and then play all 3 songs in a row. And if your song doesn't sound as clear and clean and tight and professional as theirs, you've got a problem, because that's your competition. You're not competing with other artists locally here. You're competing with international superstars. So your music has to sound as good as theirs does.
100. Thank you.
Was that the answer you were looking for?
That was. I have 2 bits of video that
So I
I
have
can
a
just
bunch of
play
gold
back.
stars. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I can play this back.
I like this. You realize you could have just called me. But hey,
After I wasn't able to get you here, I was a little disillusioned there.
okay.
Thank you,
There we go.
K1. I appreciate it. All right, let's move into marketing.
Okay. My
You
favorite
had a
topic.
video talking about a marketing plan,
Mhm.
and I believe these are the 4 things that you outlined: advertising, promotion,
Mhm.
social media, and tools. Can you explain, and shouts out to Chill, who was starting to get into a little bit of the differences,
Yes,
but can you explain the differences between the 4 and
absolutely.
why they would need those things?
Okay, so advertising is when you're buying digital ads or banner ads or influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is where somebody that has a following would, a larger following than you. So we use micro influencers on TikTok and Instagram. So if somebody has, say, 50,000 to 100,000 followers, and we want to reach their fan base, we would pay them to either do some sort of a skit if they're a comedian with the song. We use women that put on makeup a lot, because if we're trying to reach women, women watch videos of other women putting makeup on. I beyond me, but it works. So the music might be playing in the background. Sometimes we'll reach DJs because we have a club song, or we're going to radio and we want them to get a feel for the music. But advertising is where you're paying to reach your target market. Promotion is where you're promoting your song. You're going out into the world and you're just sort of blanketing the world, trying to find people that may embrace your song. We do a lot of street promotions. It still works. In fact, so many people don't do street promotions today that when I do it, we really stand out. It's really kind of awesome. So we'll do posters that have a QR code. We'll just reach people. College campuses are a great place to promote. We promote a lot in the hood because we don't get stopped. We don't usually go into upscale white neighborhoods because the cops come like that. and it makes it a little harder to promote. We'll promote at fairs, festivals, backyard barbecues, anywhere where there's a mass amount of people that are coming together. Social media, we do a lot of social media marketing. That's where, again, the influencer marketing works. We are very, very, very TikTok heavy. Around this time last year, I noticed that my engagement and my clients' engagement was cutting in half on Instagram. We weren't doing anything differently. And this shocked me, because why would all of a sudden the engagement get cut by half? It just didn't make sense. So because I don't own Instagram and I can't call them and say, hey, fix this, we started gravitating over to TikTok. I noticed a post last week. Here we are almost exactly a year later, right? And I noticed a post this week from one of my friends who does marketing professionally for the major labels. And he was saying that his engagement was reduced by 63%. This is maybe 10 days ago. And I thought, oh my God, it's happening again. So there's something that's going on at Instagram. I don't know what it is, but they're cutting engagement. If I were a betting person, I would say that they're trying to make more money and they want you to boost your posts. And that's how they make money. And in order for you to feed that little need that you have to have those big numbers and the big engagement and all those views, they're hoping that you'll spend a little $50 here, a little $50 there to boost your posts. I'm guessing that's why. For me, it just makes me leave. It makes me go to another platform where we can get a really good bang for our buck, and that happens to be TikTok. The difference between their algorithms, in case you don't know, with Instagram, let's say you have 10,000 followers, and I don't know the exact math on this because I'm not inside their company. This is like one of their secret sauce recipe secrets. They're only going to show your post to a small percentage of whoever's following you. So the whole world doesn't get to see what you post, just the people that are following you. So let's just say it's 10%. Again, I don't know what the number is, but let's say it's 10%. If those 10% of the people start engaging with you and liking and talking and leaving comments, they'll show it to another large percentage. If nobody's initially liking or talking, it doesn't go any further. That's not how TikTok works. TikTok, which has billions of users, it just goes out into the world. It's like throwing up. Bleh. It's just out there, right? So whoever gets to see it, that's online at that exact moment, that sees it, gets to engage with it. It's not run by the same algorithm that Instagram is. They're not there just because they want to make money. They're there for a completely different reason. Yes, they want to make money, but they're there for a completely different reason. And I'm really simplifying it. If somebody in this room worked for Instagram or TikTok, they'd be throwing stuff at me right now. But it gives you an idea of the difference. So we really use TikTok a lot. We post 8 times a day for our artists on TikTok because we're there in front of people whenever they're online, and we don't know when they're online. Right. So we want to reach as many people as possible. And we also repurpose content. I'm not shooting 8 different videos every day to put up on well, in some cases I am, but to put up on TikTok, we're repurposing pieces of music videos, lyric videos. I have one artist who's just funny as hell. He doesn't mean to be, but he's just really funny. So we'll take videos that he's shot just hanging out with his boys and put his music behind it and just let it rip because he's funny, and it really works for him. I have another client that travels a lot. He travels the world for his 9-to-5 job. So we post a lot of videos of him. We're about to start a travel YouTube channel just for him because of the reaction to his YouTube videos. To his TikTok videos. So it doesn't have to be costly to do this, but it is very time consuming to do this.
Any additional tools?
Oh, tools. I forgot what the last one was.
That they would need to be aware of.
Yes. Tools are anything that you're going to use in order to advertise, market, and promote yourself. So a bio is a great tool. A photo shoot is a great tool. Music videos are great tools. We do a lot of content video. In fact, when we shoot music videos, we only spend $500 to shoot a music video. If the song starts to react and take off, we can always shoot a more expensive video, you know? But so many people will spend $3,000 on a video for a song that never goes anywhere. And then they're like, well, shit, that's my whole budget. Well, for us, that's 6 videos. You know, you just have to find somebody that's willing to shoot relatively cheaply, relatively inexpensively. And then we chop everything up. My favorite, because it's so important for your fans to know who you are. They want to know, where are you from? You know, did you graduate from high school? Do you smoke weed? You know, do you come from a 2-parent household? Are you married? Do you have kids? There's so many questions that people have when they're learning who you are. We shoot a lot of, I call them like mini documentaries. They're not really, right? But they're videos where I'll have an artist sitting on the front steps where they went to high school, talking about their journey in high school. You know, I wasn't a very good student. Yeah, I was a great student. I was an athlete. Nah, I smoked too much weed. You know, whatever their experience was, we're going to record them doing that. And then I'm going to chop that into 20-second pieces or 30-second pieces and put that on TikTok and Reels. And then I'm going to put the minute-long version on YouTube Shorts. And then I'm going to put the longer version on Facebook. So everything that we're shooting has a home, but we're repurposing that video so that we're not shooting 30 different videos. We're shooting one and chopping it up into 30 different pieces.
There goes your marketing plan. There goes your marketing plan.
And then
folks.
do it in a regional area. Don't just do Madison, Wisconsin. Like, do all of Wisconsin, do all of Illinois, do all of Missouri. Let's see if I know the map. Do all of Indiana. What I do is, I'm in Atlanta, right? So for my clients that are in Atlanta, I'll drop a pin in a map and I'll draw a circle around the area, and it's a 5-hour driving radius. And the reason that I do that is because if you have a show on a Friday night in the westernmost area, and then you have a show on Saturday night in the easternmost area of your target market, you can drive that. You can hop in a car, you can hop in a van, you can get there. If you're doing the entire United States and you've got a show in Miami on a Friday night and you've got a show in Seattle on a Saturday night, you're flying every motherfucker from one show to another. And now it's costing you money. So start in a regional area. Another thing that we do, I want to give you stuff that you can go home and use today, right? Another thing that we do is when we're figuring out what songs to drop, we do this like right away when we're getting ready to drop music. We'll shoot 5 videos, usually on an iPhone, of the artist in the studio or even driving a car, just rapping along to the lyrics. And we'll drop like a 1.5 or 2-minute videos. Each video is the same. What I don't want is a great video, because I'm going to test them. I'm going to spend $500. I'm going to run digital ads on Instagram, sometimes Google, but mostly Instagram. And I'm going to see, of those 5 songs, which one reacted better. Remember, the video's the same. So people are reacting to the song, not the video. That's why I keep them really basic. Sometimes I shoot them in black and white just so they're not too boring. But I want to see the reaction. So after 2 weeks, I'm pulling up the results and I'm seeing how many people watched it for 25% of the time. How many watched it for 50%? Okay, here's the stuff I care about. How many sat through 75%? How many made it all the way to the end? So that's going to tell me, out of the 5 songs, which 1 or 2 I'm going to put the biggest portion of my budget behind. I'm still going to work all 5 songs, but I'm going to put 60 or 70% of the budget behind the one that did the best, or the 2 that did the best, and then the remaining budget behind the others, because I already know how they're going to, and that hasn't, I've been doing that for 4 years now. It hasn't been wrong yet. I keep hoping, like, for that one time when the one that did the worst is the biggest, it hasn't happened yet. So we're able to go into this knowing which song is going to be our biggest song. Sometimes I drop the biggest song first. If the artist isn't very experienced and I'm using a new distributor, I won't drop the biggest song first because I want to get the kinks out. So I might drop it second or third because I want to make sure that the distributor is getting the song up on the right page and is it hitting all the platforms on the day it is supposed to release. I want to make sure it's working well before I start spending money. And then when we have a song that's reacting, we just go balls to the wall and we just keep putting money behind it until it starts to peak and then come down. We also drop music. I know you haven't asked me this. I'm just
No,
going.
but actually, you've moved into 2 other slides,
Oh,
which
shit.
is
Well,
great.
let me
No,
let you
no,
go.
no. Actually, no. This
Okay.
is great.
Okay. I'm going to answer your question 1 second. Consistency is really important. We drop with a new artist. We drop every other week. So we're working a song every other week, and we're working a video on the in-between week. So let's say the artist name is Fetty. I'm going to drop on Fridays. So it's hashtag Fetty Fridays. Every Friday, I'm dropping something. If the artist is a little bit more commercial, I'm going to drop every third week instead of every other. So Fetty Friday might be the song one Friday, the music video the second Friday, and now some sort of content video the third Friday.
Yeah.
But we're constantly dropping. We're putting a small budget behind each song, but the ones that have tested better, we're putting more of a budget and we're working them longer. So I'm usually working like 5, 6, 7 songs at a time for one artist. And then the song that's doing the best is getting the bulk of the budget. Yes, sir.
Have you started to allocate your funds for TikTok?
Yes. We just started running ads on TikTok.
So are you taking that same plan? Because I'm heavy in TikTok. And so have you implemented that same plan that you use for Meta and sometimes Google, as you stated? Are you doing the same thing on TikTok?
We don't test on TikTok. No. What we do is when the videos are reacting, we'll put an advertising budget behind the one that's reacting. But we also post multiple times. So let's say I've got videos that maybe get 1,000 views and then I've got one that gets 23,000, right? It's an anomaly. I'm going to repost that video again and again and again. And if it's still reacting really well, I'm putting a budget behind that. And I tend to, once I have like a month to a month and a half of videos for an artist, I can really see which are the videos that are doing best. Is it the ones where they're just walking down the street rapping? Is it the ones where it's a meme and it's kind of funny? Is it the one where it's just them talking about their life? We do more of what works and less of what doesn't. It's really that simple for us. And we run a lot of ads now. We just started running ads on TikTok.
Was there another hand up? Yep.
So my question is like, how do you monetize it? Because like my daughter got 1 million views overnight, and we didn't have it monetized.
For TikTok, for artists, it drives it to Spotify and to Apple. So we're monetizing not through TikTok. Well, our distributors putting the music up. So the music is monetizing, but it's not, the money really isn't shit. Where it monetizes is it's building the artist's brand and it's driving people to Spotify and Apple. More Apple than Spotify for some reason from TikTok. I don't know why.
Sounds like a lot of the A/B tests you're doing is to optimize for engagement. Do you
Yes.
optimize for other metrics, or is it strictly focusing on engagement?
I'm focusing a lot on engagement, but when we're running ads to drive people to merch, to buy merch, or to YouTube videos to get them to, hit that subscribe button. We have specific targets that we target so that we can measure. And I'm kind of like you. I don't measure a lot. You and I were talking over here about measurement. You're like, if one person responds, I'm happy. I'm kind of like that. But my digital ad guy is so not like that. He can, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing. But I'm like, ooh, and he's like, didn't work. And for me, it's like, I want to see the engagement. I want to see if I'm driving people to YouTube and we go from 179 subscribers to 279. I think that's awesome. His job is to figure out, yeah, okay, Wendy, that's awesome. But you know what did better? Instagram did better driving people than TikTok or whatever. That's his job. And he does all the analytics and then comes back and says, this is working better than this. Again, we do more of what works and less of what doesn't. Yeah.
Right. I do want to
But
give
we
it.
always have a reason. Like there's always something to measure. I don't just advertise to advertise.
I do want to give a shout out to Shah because he did sit down in our second one and talk about TikTok specifically.
I love that.
I know.
TikTok is my best friend.
Yes.
TikTok loves me.
Well,
I
you're
do something.
charismatic. I get it. I see why. I totally get it.
So we had already talked about testing songs in the
Yes.
market, which was
You
great.
test on TikTok?
I'm not an artist, but I test motivational speeches. I do a lot of motivational speaking. So I test
Really?
content on that.
Mhm.
And then what I'll do is like I had one, I was just feeling myself, did it in the shower, just my head.
You had your camera in the shower? We'll have a conversation off camera.
Right.
I felt like an artist at that moment. Like I was feeling something.
Yeah.
And I
Did
was
it.
in the shower and I did it, and it went well. So what I did is just like if artists would take their song the way you were describing your song,
Yes.
I took that audio, and I know the audio works because it didn't matter I was in the shower, and now I'm putting it with other things.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And as I get more content in my fighters training and my students training, I can now put the motivational speaking with
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm putting it out there myself. I don't care if people like my face, if they're reacting to the words, if they're sharing those videos. Now I know I can put it with any content
Right.
of someone training. So the same way.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
The way you're describing music is what I do with my motivational speeches, and I text
Repurpose
you.
it,
The
yep.
plan you talked about is literally what we just
Yep.
talked about.
I love it.
Just-
I'm sorry to bore you guys.
Just a while ago. So it's like, oh my God.
I love that. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna do all my videos in the shower now. I love that. I love on TikTok, and I'm sure you've seen this. There's so many people that will take what somebody else is saying and they'll mouth along to it,
Mhm.
and they'll nail it. And I love that because I'm thinking about now the one that worked for you. I'm thinking about taking that and mouthing along to it and putting it on my TikTok. I think that'd be really cool, and it would drive like my world to your world. That'd be really cool.
All right. Shout out before we get here. I do want to shout out Ted Park because he had talked about this
Yeah.
in the previous one too, as far as testing your songs in the market. So we appreciate having him. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think if I put
Yeah.
Wendy Day in 150,000 or
I'm known for that.
250,000, I think you'll populate at least the first two pages of Google.
I think so too. And it always makes motherfuckers cry.
It does. So let's get
Yeah.
into why it says yes, 150,000.
So everybody, my whole career, I'm 30 years in. This is my 30th year. And the one question that everybody wants to know is, Wendy, I have $10,000. What should I do with it? Wendy, I have $20,000. What should I do with it? And it's so hard for me to answer that question because I know in my heart that it's not enough. It's not enough to win. And what I really want to say is don't spend it, go invest it somewhere and let it grow. And, whether that's real estate or wherever, you can't start a business, especially in the music business, on 10 or 20 grand. And you can buy some attention. You can certainly get some eyes on you, but it won't lead to anything. And when you really study this and you learn that it's much better to take what you have and put a business plan or a marketing plan together and use that money to go find investors so that you can actually succeed. I always make the analogy of a restaurant because we all kind of get this. If you don't have the money to open a restaurant, you're not just going to go and rent a building and then put an open sign and you can't afford to buy the food. And somebody comes in and says, can I get a hamburger? And you say, I'm sorry, we have no food. You wouldn't do that. But in the music business, for some reason, we do that all the time. And it's so heartbreaking to me because people lose more money in this business, I think, than most businesses. And the effect of it is they think they're not good enough. And it's not that they weren't good enough to win. It's that they didn't have the proper funding to win. And I know so many people, especially my age, that came up with me and they started out rapping and they didn't succeed. They're doing whatever job now. They're happy and it's not a problem. Life takes you on you pivot, right? Life takes you on whatever journey you're supposed to be on. But what's heartbreaking to me is that somebody would think that they weren't talented enough to succeed when in reality, they just didn't have the marketing and promotion that they needed to succeed. For me, I can only speak for me. There'll be somebody in this room that has $30,000 and will go and become a superstar. And please, I love when that happens. But for me, if somebody comes to me and they don't have a minimum of $150,000 to spend on marketing and promotion, I turn them away. Even if they came to me and said, Wendy, I have 130, I would say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, because I know what it takes for me to do this. And I know, and it's not, you're not even going to spend 150, you're going to spend way more. That 150 is just new money. So as the money starts coming back into the company for monetizing the music, you're going to end up spending somewhere close to $1 million before you're a star. But the reality, maybe even more, but the reality is you have to find your market, you have to target that market, and you have to bring that market into your movement. There is a time, there's an expiration date on music. The fans are 13 to 26 years old that are spending money. So if you're a 35-year-old rapper, you can still rap. I'm not saying you can't, but a 13 to 26-year-old is probably not going to want to hear what you have to say, because you're in a different place in life and you kind of look like their dad, you know? So it's just a little bit different. I'm not saying you can't win. I'm just saying that for me, I cannot do this for less than 150. And I'm just one of those people that's not willing to take somebody's money and not deliver success for them. Are you all depressed now? Okay.
Oh, we're
Are you
going to pick it
depressed?
back up.
No, I guess I think that is a really honorable thing, just given, right, the barrier to entry, at least like to like throw something on YouTube, right? Grab a YouTube feed, right, is like zero.
Right.
Right. And the opportunities to then like scam, take advantage of people, right? Pay to play, all the stuff is like endless, right? As you were talking about. So
Yeah.
like
It's a big problem in this industry.
But so to be upfront and honest, right? Like, and to, I don't know. I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I think what I'm doing is noble. People get mad.
We have one more question.
Yes.
Is the price tag so high because the market is overly saturated?
Yes.
Or are there other-
And it's fractured. I love that you asked that. It's oversaturated. There's so much music that in order to stand out, it takes more money, and it's fractured. And what I mean by fractured is there's not one place that you can go anymore and reach everybody that's a music fan. You know, there's music fans on Twitch playing video games. There's music fans on TikTok. There's music fans out in the world that, you know, don't use the internet. I don't know who they are, but there are some, right? People are all over the place now. And in order to reach a large amount of people, you've got to be all over the place. And it's getting worse, not better. You know, I'm very encouraged. Wow, I've never said these words before. I'm very encouraged by Taylor Swift because she proved that in this fractured market, you can still sell a lot of music. They predicted she would sell 800,000 units, and units there's a mathematical formula, right? Because it's a singles market. She did 1.5 million. She doubled what everybody thought she would do. Then she got 10 songs into the top 10. This has never happened in the history of music.
Yeah.
She has 10 songs in the top 10. That's crazy to me. That just blows my mind. And she has streamed more music than any other artist since 2017. So this is very encouraging because I've been reading these articles saying music is going to start declining soon. There's a decline. People are listening to older music rather than newer music. And the reason for this is because it's so fractured. You can't advertise and reach people as easily as you once could. Well, Taylor Swift could, and she's proven that it's possible. Yes, ma'am.
So when it comes to the streaming, and you know you have to have like ASCAP or VMI, so
Yes.
you can plug in the numbers.
Yes.
Which one is more like for indie artists? Which one would you say is more user friendly?
I think they're both about the same.
Yeah.
Those two companies measure radio play and live play. So when you start doing shows and when you get on the radio, that's where BMI or ASCAP matter. So it's you're a little bit bigger than a brand new artist by the time you start seeing money. It's sort of like asking me which is better, AT&T or Verizon. They both suck.
So it's more of one with like sound.
Well,
That's a little
if
different.
they're different companies. Sound Exchange, you should go with right away. Sound Exchange pays you for any music that streams on the web, on the internet, any music that you don't choose. So, an internet radio station, Sirius XM. If somebody is listening to iHeartRadio.com, they're going to pay you for that. They pay partially for Pandora. Pandora pays 50% or 55% through Sound Exchange, and then the other half comes through your distributor. Your distributor pays you for any music that streams on the internet that people choose to hear. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm choosing to listen to a new Young Jeezy song, he's going to get paid by his distributor. If I'm just listening to a bunch of music on the internet and he comes on, that's going to be Sound Exchange.
All right, I know we're getting close to the time. I knew I had too many
No!
questions.
No.
We're going to try to skip
Okay.
ahead,
Okay.
see if we can get one more in, and then I
Okay.
want to make sure that we have some time at the end just for the audience to ask a
Absolutely.
few questions. All right, we talked about that. That's an interesting one, but you kind of talked about the
getting your
regional.
buzz up regionally. Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Record labels sign you because you have something going on. It's really that simple. You don't need a record deal in 2022. You don't need a record deal. You can do this yourself.
Interesting question.
Oh.
As you just said that.
360 deals are still in existence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I feel we've come at it two different ways for those that are independent, that are trying to,
Mhm.
start their own LLC, possibly look for an investment of money and
Right.
possibly try to pay for it themselves. But for
Right.
those that are saying, hey, I don't have that infrastructure.
Right.
I'm not good at the social media thing and the posting and all those things. And I really do need someone to be able to
some
come
help.
and
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Um,
Or I can't find an investor, so I
Right.
have to depend on a record deal.
So in 2022, with the changing in record deals and the 360 kind of coming about in the 2000s, what does a record deal look like? What should be the expectation if a person is buzzing regionally and buzzing online? What was that record deal look like for them?
The record deal, they've gotten shorter, so they could be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. There's still a component of 360 in them, meaning you're going to pay for ancillary income. You're going to pay them when you get shows, if somebody puts you in a movie and you're acting in a movie. If you have a book that comes out about you, or you write a book, they're going to want a percentage of that. The labels feel like they're building your brand. They should profit off your brand. It's really that simple. You can get deals that don't include any of that. I just did a deal for a group out of New York, just about a year ago, called the Girl Code. And Girl Code are sort of like a 2022 version of Mobb Deep, but they're female. So they're sort of street, and they can rap. But they are kind of amazing, actually, and they're cute too.
Right now.
I know, right? It's GIRLLCODEE. Girl Code. 2 L's, 2 E's. The great thing about them, they're signed to 300. The great thing about them is they could not find an investor. And they felt, as young females in the music industry, every person that they were going to wanted something different from them, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, than what they were willing to give. So they felt that signing to a label was a better option for them. So we did a deal, and we carved out their publishing. I think we carved out their show money as well, but they had a really decent buzz. They didn't have a great buzz. They had a decent buzz in New York, and Ebro from Hot 97 kind of championed them. And he was playing them on Hot 97 and showing them a lot of love. So that carries weight with labels too, when you've got somebody that's in like a gatekeeper that's opening the gate for you. That labels look at that.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Let's clap it up for Wendy Day.